Greetings and welcome to the Factorio Space Age. I'm KatherineOfSky and we're on Gleba, and I'm going to talk about what spoilage is, how to manage it, and how to play Gleba. So we arrive on a planet here and you'll see immediately 2 or 3 different biomes. We have this kind of brown stuff, which is solid land, which is nice because the rest of the planet is like half water, half other stuff. The purple area is where you're going to find a fruit called jelly nut. This is a tree that you're going to want to cultivate, and it has these fruits that look like little brains. And we can see those in the box here. They actually look like little brains. You have tree planters where you can input seeds, and this little arm swings around and it plants these trees. As you can see, they're growing, and this is like 89% growth. This one is 86% growth, and this thing harvests them and makes new fruit out of them. You can also harvest them yourself, as I've done over here, because this one has run out of seeds. It's completely out and therefore has no growing. That's why the belts are empty. Now, I've set this up so it has a tiny robot network taking the seeds into the box, the requester box for the tree planter, and then the fruits come on a very long belt back to the base. Now, you want to have that belt as fast as possible. But don't worry, the fruits have a spoil time of an hour, so it's not like, a big rush, but it's a lot of volume to go back and forth with robots. So I definitely recommend bringing extra belts to Gleba. Now, in the very beginning of getting here, I find Gleba to be the hardest planet of all because you're thrown into this like, oh my God, I gotta make all these different products. Firstly, you have to process the jelly nut into jelly, the Yumako into mash, and then that needs to be processed into these guys, the bioflux. But you're also making tree planters. You're also making these containers, these biochambers. And you have to make these white stuff, which are nutrients. And all of that has to go into one complicated process. And it's very tempted to make belts, but actually having bots is the way. And I'll show you my save with bots very shortly. But anyway, as you're doing this, it's like, wow, there's so much going on. And one of the ways you can make nutrients is through spoilage. But initially, you may not get much spoilage. So that's kind of a challenge. But let's put some Yumako in these machines and let those get processed. And you can see how the mash is getting crafted into the bioflux. Now, every item has a spoil time, and if we look here, we can see these nutrients. They have 45 seconds left. The jelly is now 2 minutes left. These spoil in 4 minutes. The mash spoils in 3 minutes, and hopefully you can get it quickly to the bioflux machine where it has a spoil time of 2 hours. But it kind of retains the percentage that you have on those things. And the best way to get nutrients is, this thing ran out again, my goodness. Best way to get nutrients is to convert the bioflux into 40 nutrients per 5 bioflux. That's a huge amount, and that will power your stuff for quite a long time. Otherwise, you have a nice recycling thing converting spoilage into nutrients. And I've kind of stopped this while with the circuit condition. If this is full, then this is not going to make any more. So, the nutrients also have a very short spoil time. Again, 5 minutes on those. And here is where we are actually getting our fuel going on. And that is to power our steam engines. Yes, we are making rocket fuel out of jelly and stuff. and we're using it in old-timey steam engines. I know that sounds crazy. Oh, and this stuff is because of these guys. They have a tiny bit of explosive nature, as you see. It will hurt you, but I have a nice mech suit, so I'm actually okay. But yeah, that is how spoilage works. Everything retains its spoil time from the product before it as a percentage, and that's how you have to deal with that. Now, let me show you a better base with chests and robots. So as you can see, this base is just humming with robot activity. And again, we do have all of the fruits are coming in from the various farms via belt. And those come into our centralized area where everything is delivered by robots. And that makes it a lot easier with the spoilage and with stuff getting what it needs. Here's the thing I haven't talked about yet, and this is how we get ore. We start with a bacterial culture of jelly and some spoilage, which this is over spoiled, unfortunately. Looks like we need to unlimit that chest, but it makes bacteria, which then if you feed it, it makes more bacteria. So you get put 1 in and you get 4 out. And as this bacteria gets older, it spoils into ore. And that's how you get iron and copper ore with the 2 different kinds of bacteria. When you get here, there are enemies, the pentapods, and you will need to destroy egg rafts, which are like the spawners, to get these little pentapod eggs. And these machines here are solely for making 1 into 2. So you have a lot of these running. This is one of the only items that refreshes the spoil time. So it doesn't matter how old your pentapod eggs are. If you take 1 and make into 2, it makes them fresh, which is really nice. Because you do need the pentapod eggs to go into the science. Now, when you first start out, I definitely recommend having the science here on Gleba. In fact, I have made red and green, and I don't think I've made the blue science, but definitely worth making as many as you can on Gleba, except for the like really material heavy ones like purple and yellow. I would make those either on Novice or Volcana, somewhere like that. And you can do all the research here because when you first start out and you have everything spoiling, your science packs are going to have very little life in them. So they do have a spoil time of 1 hour, but that has to include everything from tree to actually getting the science pack made. So I definitely recommend having the science pack on Gleba because the travel time to Novice, and then you'll notice every lab has a spoil box where it has to output the spoilage. Otherwise, the labs simply don't work if you don't have a spoilage box to take out any spoiled science packs. The same with this box, though you don't really need from here. You can just say trash unrequested. So anyway, that is how to manage spoilage on Gleba. It's not as difficult as you might think if you get a handle on it, but it's quite difficult in the very beginning of the game where you're lacking power, you're lacking all the biochambers because you have to get the eggs so that you can craft the biochambers. There's a lot of things that are in a huge chain where you need to do one step and then the other and then the other in order to succeed. So that is all I have for you on this subject. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial and that it's been useful for you. If you would like to support me, do check out the links in the description below for Patreon or membership or things like that. The cats and I really, really appreciate your support. So have fun in Space Age. Thank you so very much for joining me. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you next time.